welcome back to the series we're doing, just talking to reporters on our staff about why being a part of the Western Herald is important to them. I am Editor-in-Chief, Ian Miller, and I have our lead sports reporter, Zurek, here today to talk about why sports and the Herald is important to him. So, Joey, could you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
So, Joseph Zurek. I'm from Lansing, Michigan originally. I came here to study journalism. Journalism major with a dual minor in classical studies and political science. I've been writing sports for about a year now, a little over a year. I like football, I play golf, I cover basically every sport that I can. I am the beat reporter for volleyball, so a little bit of expertise in volleyball. Cover a lot of basketball too.
Oh, that's great. So a dual major in journalism and political science.
Dual minor.
Dual minor?
Yep.
So with political science, I'd expect you to be more into news. So what kind of took you over to the sports section?
I've always said that if I could get paid to talk about sports, like that'd be a perfect job for me. And I found it with sports writing. So I've always had an interest in politics. My dad's involved in politics with his work. So he's always just kind of had us aware of politics growing up. So I've always just been aware. And with everything going on a lot, I figured I should probably take a little bit more of a little look into politics. So I joined poli-sci and I loved it, and I love learning about politics. So.
Oh, awesome. That's good to hear. So it seems like sports is kind of like, it's different from that. So how do you manage, focusing on sports when it comes to the Herald and the internships you're doing? I know you're doing an internship with golf right now, covering golf. So how do you manage that, focusing on journalism and poli-sci for your classwork and then sports?
I have a planner at home that my fiance makes fun of me all the time because it's written notes everywhere, it's color-coded, it's everything, but so I have specific times where, I come from an athletic background, and with athletics, you always have that little mindset of, I'm focused on this right now and this right now, so I had that mindset of between this hour and this hour, I'm political science, I'm a student, I'm doing this, but then once I'm after that, I'm sports reporter or I'm a golf reporter, so it's really just having that mindset and being able to toggle your time efficiently and just making sure that once you're into everything, you're 100% into something, and then you're on to your next topic and 100% into that.
Yeah, on that note, what kind of skills has the Herald helped you develop that you can take into your future career?
Yeah, it's really helped me gain like a way to get professional connections. Because when Colin Murphy and I's role, we deal a lot with the SIDs at Western. So it's a lot of making professional connections with that, and it's something that is important in journalism. Obviously, making connections, getting your foot in the door, or even just to get information out. So, and it's something that they don't really teach you in classes because they'll teach you writing and all that, but it's really being able to get connections and make connections that really helps. So working here has really helped broaden that because you're on your own with stories almost, and so you gotta reach out, you gotta make your connections, you gotta just let people know that you're trustworthy, and so that's really just taught me, just show people that I'm trustworthy and just make those connections to be successful.
That's amazing. I'm glad. So on that note, you said it's kind of like when it comes to stories, especially sports, I'm guessing you're kind of on your own. Was that kind of intimidating at first?
Yeah, obviously it's always a little intimidating when you know that your name's going to be out there and your work's going to be out there for everyone to see, but also it's one of those things that you just got to get used to. So yeah, it's intimidating to do it at first, but once you get a few stories under your belt, you're used to it, you're comfortable with it, and I always like to say, I hate reading my own stuff. So I'll share a story or something with some family or just post it somewhere, and someone will be like, oh, I really like what you said, this graph, this line. I'm like, oh, well, I don't even know what that says because I wrote it and there we go, so that's just something I personally don't like to do, but it's just something that once you get doing it, you get comfortable.
Oh, That's so sweet. I think I'm the opposite. I love to read my own stuff. I read over it all the time. But I know we've got one of our stories right here from back when you were a staff reporter. So can you tell us a little bit more about what it was like, what kind of like draw you to the Herald before you started?
Yeah, so I had a class with former editor-in-chief Sam Robinson, and he was talking about how, I should join the Herald, and he was just saying that they need more sports guys. So I was like, okay, I'll come in and, check out the meeting and see what's going on. Don't really know if I'm going to write yet, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came into a meeting, and the meeting was the first volleyball weekend. And they needed someone for volleyball, and I was like, well, might as well take a volleyball story, why not?
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote that, and they told me, like, hey, you got the beat, we liked what you did, so you're the volleyball guy now, have fun. So it was really just like that whole thing of trust, where they were like, yeah, like this is your kind of section now, go for it, do it.
Well, that's amazing. That must have been exciting for learning volleyball. I don't know anything about volleyball, so.
Hey, it was tough for me too, but first couple matches I was doing a lot of Googling of what stats meant, but once you start writing about stuff and going to a lot of games, you're like, okay, I can pick this up pretty smoothly.
Yeah, the sports require a lot of learning on the spot. I know from what I've seen, it seems like it's super different from news writing in a lot of aspects, because I look at you all stories and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. It seems like a lot of background knowledge. What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I like to warn people at least, where if you're gonna get into sports writing, you need to know every sport almost, because I think this year alone I've written volleyball, basketball, football. I think I wrote some gymnastics, like some soccer. Like I don't really watch those sports. I wrote a little bit of tennis. Like I've never touched a tennis racket. So like it's one of those things where like you're doing a lot of Googling and a lot of like, oh, this is what this means. I kind of know what this means, but it's really a lot of Googling and just trying to figure out what's going on, and so you can tell your story.
That's really interesting. I'm going to keep that in mind, because I've been talking to Colin, and I'm like, Colin, I want to write a baseball story. Like, let me do it once, please. But one thing that really stood out to me when you started was you came and then you were lead reporter for a little while, and then Colin took over that position. So what was that like, having someone new come in and then take that position without you matriculating to the sports editor?
Yeah, it was a little tough at first for me just because I kind of wanted to keep it, but it was one of those things too where if it made the section better, I was all for it, because I'm just all for the section being the best it can be. And so it was really, really good step, because he got experience in that role and he's now the editor, and I'd had experience, and now we got a sports editor and a lead sports reporter who have been in the editorial position for about a year, give or take, because I got demoted about April last year, so it's about that year-long time. And so it's just one of those things where like it's stunk at the beginning, but once you take a second, you're like, okay, this is gonna help out the whole section, and so it really did. And I feel like our sports section right now is a lot better because of that, just because you have these people in power who have been in those positions before, and they know what they're doing.
What kind of lessons did you take from that when that happened? That kind of helped you now that you're lead sports reporter again?
Yeah, I mean, it just taught me that everyone's replaceable, so like you gotta keep doing what you do. You mentioned it before. It's one of those things where like my dad always told me, be a Zurek, and so it's one of those things where like, yeah, I'm gonna prove, I'm here and I'm here to stay. And so it just taught me, to keep on my A game, keep everything as good as it can be, and it not only benefits myself, but it benefits the whole staff, because it just makes the staff better when everyone's doing their job to the best that they can do it.
That's definitely one thing that stood out to me in your interview when you came with, my dad told me before this, he was like, come in and be a Zurek. Has your family helped you a lot in kind of like motivating you towards going for writing, or helping you with developing skills?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, my family is my biggest supporters. I share my stories on Facebook, Twitter. They're the first ones to like it, first ones to repost it. So yeah, they've been critical in helping me, and they're the only ones, or they're the first ones to always be like, hey, good job on this, good job on that, I read this, I read that. And so it's just great to have that and be able to do that. And they've really helped my whole life, because like they've taken me to games, they've let me explore what I wanted to do my whole life. So when I told them about this opportunity, of writing for the Herald and, being a beat reporter, they're like, go for it, do it, It's whatever you want. So yeah, they've been real critical in helping me get to where I am, and they're going to be real critical in helping me get to where I want to go.
That's amazing. That is great to hear. That's kind of like, since you have that such a strong bond with your family, what's it like being in, a team for the Herald? Because we had our first in-person meeting yesterday, and then it's so important for us to kind of, know each other and collaborate with each other and be comfortable with each other. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's great, whenever you have a group of people that can work together without fighting, because I've never seen fighting amongst us, there might be some, but, I've never been a part of it, so it's always great to be able to get stuff done and be able to do everything without any bickering or any like little side things going on with groups, because, I've been a part of groups that I've had that, and I've been obviously part of groups that haven't, and it's just always great to have everyone have that one central focus, and just when they work together, they can get anything done, and that's really what we have here.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's no infighting as far as I know, so I hope there's none that I am not aware of.
Right.
But speaking to that, kind of, sports has really been, and I know I've talked to Sam about this, because he was really instrumental in taking you guys from what you were to what you are now. Sports produces so much content. Like, you guys are on top of it all the time. Like, how do you contribute to making, well, I guess a better question is, do you ever feel any pressure to like keep up with that standard, since you guys are producing so much and doing so much?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously going to be pressure, because we are, as Sam liked to say, we were the #1 source for Western Michigan news, because, we got the local news outlets here, but they don't really focus that much on Western Michigan. Like, they'll post game recaps of something every now and then, but we try to get every sport for every game recap. So there's a little bit of pressure that goes with that, but I mean, you just gotta go into the mindset of, we're the leading experts in it. We know everything about it. So we're gonna go out there and we're just gonna do what we know we can do, because we are those experts. And it's a lot of fun, I think, to produce that much content, because we're always doing something. We've always got something coming down. So it's just a lot of fun to keep up that level of like busyness, really, and just have that whole side of just producing content every day.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's, it's such an inspiration to the rest of the team too, because we see you guys have really set the standard of, this is the Western Herald. Like, this is what we've got to be. Like, we've got to be the #1 source for what people are looking towards. And kind of on that note, Western Michigan students, we're so passionate about sports. We've got the Lost and Lunatics, who are obviously crazy about hockey. How does that feel, kind of being a student, and then why is serving students important to you as a part of the Herald staff?
It's important to me, really, because we are the voice for the students. And, like I mentioned, there's the local news outlets, but they don't really get in touch with the students, or they don't really produce enough content about Western Michigan to really connect with the students. But, we're there 24/7 producing content about Western Michigan. Like, we are obviously Western Michigan students as well. So it's just great to be able to have that voice for students. So like, I've had people come up to me and be like, hey, what are you guys going to do about like this, or this story? And I'm like, oh, well, we haven't really thought about that, but we'll make sure to tell it, because, we should. And so it's really come great to have that connection with the students, and really it's great to be able to have that voice for the students about sports.
That's amazing. That is good to hear. I love it when students are excited about, sports and what we do. It just, it absolutely makes my day. But as you noted, we're kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say competing, but we're, in the same field as these other bigger outlets in the area who are producing news about Western Michigan. But of course, we're a much smaller operation because we're here at Western, and then we're funded by the student assessment fee, and then also by donations. How important is getting that funding and fundraising and donation in to help us, you know, serve the students and produce the content that we do, in your opinion?
It's super important because, you know, we can't really do anything without funding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once tournaments get back up and going, you know, postseason tournaments when we go and all that, like, we need to be able to be there to get that fun knowledge for students, you know. We don't like waiting a day to get knowledge about, you know, sport events. So,
Yeah.
you know, with that donations, you know, we can go to these tournaments, we can go travel with the team to different places, and it's just really nice to have that and be able to do that. And on top of that, I mean, we work a lot with the photography and the video crew, and like, you know, if they don't have the tools that they need to do their jobs, you know, that makes everyone look bad because, you know, if we don't have good pictures, you know, we don't have anything really, because that's why people click on stories really, is a lot of pictures. So we don't have that money, like it hurts us really in that. And you know, I've been looking around and seeing like Indiana, I saw just had a problem with they were cutting their newspaper, and like that'd be a real shame for here because no one would really tell any stories about athletes here or any stories about anyone here because, you know, we aren't that Michigan State, you know, we aren't that big. So just not having any funding would really kill not only us but the school, because we just won't have any eyes on us, any eyes on our athletes or anything really.
Yeah, that's such a shame, and I think you make a really good point in that. Did you guys do a lot of traveling in the past to, you know, games and tournaments that aren't home?
Yeah, I mein, we've done a couple. I know Seth went to Michigan State when we went to Michigan State. I went to a Michigan State basketball game, Western Michigan State basketball game, and you know, and we were supposed to go to the MAC conference tournament last year before it got shut down, but like, you know, we were paying for all that out of pocket, and it got expensive, you know, trying to find hotels and gas and all that. So yeah, I mean, we tried to get more, but you know, if we can get more money, more anything really, we can go to more events and go to more, provide that live coverage that we need.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Has it been frustrating with COVID not being able to do some more of that?
It stinks. it's bad, you know. We were supposed to go to the Central Western game. I think Seth and I were supposed to. And we couldn't because they shut down. I think it was the day before the game. They limited capacity. So we could go. They said that we could still go. We could still have our media credentials, but we'd be in the bleachers, you know, at the top of the stadium. And it's, you know, mid-November, Michigan, the night game. We don't really want to sit on those bleachers.
Oh yeah.
You know, so it's been frustrating not only from that point, but even as a fan, you know, because I'm one of my friend group. You know, I'm the only person who's been able to go to games this year, and you know, it's been tough to be a sports fan and just have to sit at home and watch the games. You know, so yeah, it's just been real frustrating. And even at those games I do cover, it just doesn't feel right. You know, without anyone there, without the band, without anyone, it's just like an eerie feeling to be at those games and have it be just so quiet and be able to hear coaches, be able to hear players. It's just weird.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I know if I do get to a baseball game, I will lose my mind. I will be so excited to be there because I haven't really been to any so far at Western because this is still my second year. So I've definitely got a lot to do in that regard that I hope we can do once we get back in person. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I mean, just the importance of us as a, organization. You know, it's so important to just have students' voices heard from students, as opposed to what administrators think students, want to say. And so, yeah, it's just important to have student news organizations on campus, and important to just keep them up to date and keep them running.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That is so important. And thank you for sharing what you have to say and kind of touching on the sports aspect of it. It's so important. It's so important to the Western Herald. We cover sports definitely, but if you want to hear sports content, then go follow the Western Herald Sports over on Twitter. And I'll say once again, Joey, thank you for coming in. And thank you guys for tuning in. If you'd like to donate to the Western Herald, you can click on the link down in the description below, and I'll see you guys next time for the next member of our staff that we'll be interviewing. Okay, thanks.